Art the Clown is one of the most exciting horror icons to come out in recent memory. Every time he is on screen, it is hard not to be drawn in by Art's charm and good looks. His black and white color scheme contrasts beautifully with the copious amounts of blood you are bound to witness in every movie Damien Leone puts out. The rough and grungy look of the Terrifier movies only adds to the brutality and horror, instead of feeling cheaply made. What else is there to say about this hidden gem? Wait a minute, I'm getting breaking news from Twitter. We regret to inform you that Art the Clown is a misogynist? Well, I wouldn't say that. I'd imply it in a thumbnail. I'd definitely do that. No, what Art represents is the antithesis to what we value regarding femininity. Art is ugly, he's brutish, disgusting, old-looking, angular, weird. He's a lot to take in, let's say that. Art revels in disfiguring and distorting beacons of youth, beauty, and even motherhood. The Terrifier movies focus heavily on these themes, and I want to dive into these stories, not only to see what makes Art the Clown tick, but why we feel so uneasy when he's on screen. Please note, I'm not saying that anyone working on or anyone who enjoys these movies are misogynist, nor do I think you should. I'm just discussing the plots and themes of these stories as presented. While we're on this tangent, remember, spoilers ahead for all things Art the Clown. Normally we would start with Terrifier 1, but Art made his debut much earlier than his first feature film. Here's the timeline we are working with. We're going to start with this here, All Hallows Eve, which has both short films, The Ninth Circle and Terrifier 2011 included. What a deal. The Ninth Circle was Damien's first... Wait a minute, is that his real name? Oh shit, names really do have power, don't they?
Look at me, Damien. It's all for you.
You hope that something like this happens.
All Hallows Eve starts with Sarah babysitting her friend's kids. Everything was going smoothly until they found an unmarked VHS tape in Little Timmy's Halloween candy. Sarah tries to do the right thing by keeping the tape from the kids, but is bullied into watching it anyway. Like, girl, you had the right idea. That tape screamed snuff film. But wouldn't you know it, it's actually The Ninth Circle, a 2008 short film briefly starring Art the Clown. The plot goes as follows. A young woman waits alone in a train station and is quickly harangued, assaulted, and drugged by a discount Pennywise. Trafficked away to an underground lair, watches as a pregnant woman gets her baby ripped out and is stripped and, I'll let you fill in the blanks. Although this short film leaves a lot to be desired, the overtones of Damien's style are palpable. The plot reads like an overprotective mother reprimanding her daughter. No, you're not taking the night bus. Come back in the morning. What if some creepy man attacks and drugs you? Didn't you see the news? Those 2 women went missing. One of them was pregnant too. They could have been killed. Damien listened to that and was like, I bet. I'm gonna make this so much worse. Notice how the girls are reacting. And then there's this kid. This had to be a self-insert character, I swear. We are skipping the next short and going to Terrifier 2011. This is my introduction to Art the Clown and what cemented my fascination with the character. Most of what makes the Terrifier series unique comes from this installment. A young woman is driving back to the city and stops at the last gas station in town. She is met with a gas station attendant pissed at Art for smearing his all over the bathroom. But I mean, how could you be mad at this guy? It's nothing to lose your head over. Art just toys with this woman, popping in and out of nowhere, completely relentless in his pursuit. It's not until this woman gets the upper hand that Art's tone changes. This is what makes him such a compelling slasher icon. His human-like mood swings add that little bit of depth you don't get from a Michael Myers or a Jason Voorhees. I didn't know whether to laugh or cry when I saw Art pull out a 9mm for this nerd. When she comes to, we are met with the de-limbed and mastectomied torso of our protag. Sexist expletives are carved all across what's left of her body. Bitch, slut, and country without the Ori. It's these shocking images that really stick out with you. It's hard not to empathize with this poor woman. We aren't even given the courtesy of seeing what becomes of her. We are left to imagine what comes next, which forces us to reflect on what we just watched more than if we saw him finish the job. Art's sadism is on full display here. It's true that Art is an equal opportunity killer, but the men in these stories are quickly dealt with. You can tell Art takes more enjoyment in dragging out the suffering of his female victims. He opts to leave them alive in disfigured states rather than ending them outright. Marquee deaths in all the Terrifier movies are always women. I know I just said this scene stuck out to me, but let's be real. If you ever recommend this short to someone, it wasn't because Art is never caught lacking. The end of All Hallows Eve is a really affecting scene. I'm not going to spoil the stinger. You're going to have to put on a brave face and watch it for yourself. I will say that this scene feels very out of place for Art. and makes him more of an eldritch being having possessed the videotape. But I would be lying if I said the scene doesn't leave a pit in my stomach every time I see it. Child murder is never funny, except when it is. And this, like the short before it, really makes you sit with the aftermath. Whew. After all that, we were finally at the first Terrifier movie. If you thought the last movie was bad, you're right. This one is worse. You can tell Damien upped the budget for this film. He now has 3 women to torment instead of just one. The opening lines of this movie are just insane.
Now, when we left off, we were talking about the moment you woke up from the coma. Do you remember your initial reaction when you first saw your face?
I wish I was dead. People are frightened by the way that I look, especially children.
Do you remember your reaction to when you saw your face? I want to die, kids are afraid of me. I'm not an expert interviewer, but if your guest was a victim of a random act of violence, I don't think I'd start with, so talk to me about your beef jerky face. But this is deliberate. The tragedy of her story isn't her false sense of security and naivete nearly getting her killed. That every moment she steps outside, she needs to look over her shoulder with paranoia being her only means of survival. Nope, it's that she's an uggo. She should just low-tier god herself because, just look at her. The interviewer, formerly known as Sarah, is talking with her boyfriend and just dragging this woman behind her back. She gets got, and we see the full spiral into insanity of this mysterious woman. Wow, we've only hit the 5-minute mark. My bad. Let's ramp up the pace here. We are now following Tara and Dawn, 2 women out on the town on Halloween night. Stopping by a pizza joint, Tara is completely creeped out by our boy Art, to Dawn's amusement. I must say, I love this man. David Thornton puts on a great performance throughout the movie. Thankfully, there is a respectful Guido there to check in on the girls and throw out our dastardly clown. I'm starting to notice a trend here. If you try to protect a woman, it won't end well for you. The whiter the night, the redder the body bag. Tara and Dawn are stranded with slashed tires. Tara has to go and runs into a dilapidated building. Dawn is caught unaware. It's now Tara running for her life, but Art has the fent and is willing to share. This next scene is Terrifier. The movie wouldn't be the same without it. The masterstroke of a truly deranged man. This scene is the reason I refuse to recommend this series to anyone that I know. It's bad enough telling this to my 58 subscriber count. By the way, if you'd like to hit that like and subscribe buttons, I greatly appreciate it. Art the Clown has Tara bound and gagged while he unveils Dawn, strung upside down with her legs parted. Art proceeds to strip her and then bisect her with a hacksaw from the groin. It's so fucking gross. Dawn is alive for most of it, and you see more than what's necessary. First time watching this, I couldn't even focus on the rest of the movie. I just kept thinking about this scene. Tara escapes and starts beating his butt, but Art knows the American martial art of gun kata. Look how defeated he looks. Art will break the rules when the rules don't suit him. He is the kid on the playground that switches up the game the second he starts losing. It's no surprise that the 2 times he pulls out the Glock is right after getting his ass kicked by seemingly defenseless women. Tara's sister Victoria arrives to pick up the 2 of them, and the maintenance man is knocked out. The Catwoman tries to speak to Art's better nature, proclaiming that he just needs the loving touch of a mother. Anyway, Art skins her bust and scalp off and wears them to freak out Victoria. The rest of the movie sees Victoria and the maintenance guy trying to escape from the building. The goat maintenance guy is not so lucky though. Art starts devouring Victoria's face, but is stopped by the boys in blue. Art takes one last shot. Surprise, surprise, Victoria was the woman from the opening all along. The gendered violence is hard to ignore. The film revels in prolonging the suffering of these women and by extension the viewer. Even Tara's death was drawn out and she got shot in the head. Okay, that's so stupid. The men in the movie are brutalized, sure, but let's be honest. Turning a guy's head into a jack-o'-lantern or stabbing a guy is not gendered, like skinning a woman, wearing said skin as a demented form of drag performance, or cutting a woman in half by her pussy are. The last movie we will look at today is Terrifier 2. This movie felt like a huge letdown. The skeleton of a great film is there, but the feeling is off. You got the same dark comedy, gore, you got the white knight getting murked. I guess this time it's more of a black knight, and you had the most foul death saved for a pretty woman. And oh man, this is one of the most disgusting deaths yet. But I want to focus on another scene instead. At one point in the movie, Art cuts off a man's penis and shows it to his girlfriend. I literally yelled, "That's it," while watching it. You couldn't even see the dong properly. It turns out this was deliberate. Art the Clown likes to play with people's entrails. There's a scene where he cuts off a man's penis. He could have taken it further. We had conversations of things he could do once he took the guy's penis off. We explored those and joked about it, but then we said, no, that's way too far. That's too distasteful. Are you fucking kidding me? Damien says in the interview, they brainstormed ideas like having Art blow up the penis into a balloon animal. That would have been fucking perfect. Like, bro, you sawed a woman in half from her.
Wow.
Why wasn't that too distasteful? Damien, you aren't beating the misogyny case with this mindset, brother. The problem with Terrifier 2 is that it's trying to be a movie with a plot, and that will only bring comparison to other better stories. You can ignore the shortcomings of an indie low-budget horror movie with no pretense of being art. You can't when it comes to an indie low-budget horror movie with an actual story. The movie feels like half set up for future movies and half a good Art the Clown movie. After finishing T2, I was left asking, who was that little girl? Sienna was pretty cool. Are they making her into like a Laurie Strode figure? Was that a portal to hell? They seem to be pushing the angel versus devil motif very hard. Notice how none of these questions involve the main man himself. The horror takes a back seat to the lore. With Terrifier 1, you are left to your own thoughts. What was this guy's deal? Is he a demon? But why does he act so human? This movie stuck with me because I was left with the pure elements of horror. By not answering these questions, my mind can fill in the blanks and scare me even more.
No, it's just make-believe. Demons, witches, monsters, that doesn't exist.
But he wasn't really a monster if you think about it, like a vampire or a werewolf. He was just a man in a costume. Someone like that could really exist, right?
The strength of Art the Clown is always that feeling of wanting more. Not all stories need a satisfying conclusion. It all depends on the story you are trying to tell. T2 feels more like a Marvel movie planting seeds for future installments. It's a good business strategy, just not very compelling storytelling wise. With that being said, I still like the movie, and more importantly, I can't wait for the third film. Even though I don't like the direction Terrifier 2 took, I'm hopeful that my gut is dead wrong for the rest of the movies in this franchise. Maybe I'll make a follow-up, who knows? Well, you will know if you subscribe to my channel. I would also appreciate a like and comment if you stuck around this long. My next video is on JJK0. Thank you, bye.